warning, the RCWR Show with Lee Sanders is intended for a mature audience only. The following is an Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive. Covering the latest in wrestling and beyond since 2011. You're listening to the RCWR Show. Now, your host, live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Hey, what is good, kind people? Lee Sanders here of the RCWR Show. New episode dropping for Wednesday night of April 28th, 2021. How the hell y'all been, man? Hump day! Here we go. Hump day! The week is almost over. Come on, weekend, right? Hope you guys are good. Hope you guys have been all right so far. I particularly appreciate those of you that are spending your time with me live right now, because I know we got the president giving his State of the Union, if you will, right now. So I actually have that on the DVR. I totally forgot about it. So I actually literally added it to my library. So I'm not even really sure how much of it I'm going to get, because by the time I hit that add to library option, so it's in my DVR, I mean, he's already been talking for a little bit over an hour. So, I mean, you know, those of you that maybe were doing a little bit of back and forth tonight, you know, maybe you could pop in the chat, let us know, you know, what might have, you know, what we might have missed. If there was some interesting little parts in there or whatever. I'm sure that with regards to the nightly news and all, they definitely going to be giving the highlights and all that. But it actually was something I was looking forward to, but I totally forgot about it. No bullshit. Streaming live for the next little bit. We're streaming on the multiple outlets, man. So get at me, as I love seeing what you guys have to say. Hey, by the way, I'm glad that from our, what was it? It was initially Sunday. I mentioned it again Monday, but I said, you know what? We'll go over the results and talk a lot more about it on Wednesday's show. Saw a lot more of you have voted in our latest interactive poll, and it had to do with worst world champion in recent memory. A lot of you guys had sounded off about that, letting your voices be heard. So we definitely are going to spend a nice amount of time reflecting on that later on in the show. So definitely want to stick around for that, man. But hey, a little bit of AEW Dynamite going off the air there. Not too shabby for this week, yeah. Not too shabby for this week. Some pretty solid stuff, man. Some pretty solid stuff. Let's see. How we doing here? Let me just make sure before we dive any further into the show here. Make sure everything's good to go. Yeah, we're good. Everything's good to go. I'm just making sure as far as connection issues go, everything's nice and yeah, we're good. All right, cool. Yeah, so we're definitely going to talk some AEW Dynamite. We're definitely going to talk some NXT as well. A couple little headlines since last we were on the air. We teased it Monday, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it. The WWE Q1 Earnings report. Definitely want to sound off on some of that goodness that's been going on and everything. So we got a nice jam-packed episode for you guys, all right? And hey, FYI, have you guys noticed that some of the shows I've been putting out as of late, on demand and on the downloads, audio-wise, that's been available a little bit sooner rather than later? Usually a couple of days go by before you get that audio version. That's because something I'm finally starting to do that's new. I'm basically recording now in this new software that I've been trying to get my brain wrapped around and everything. And shout out to Mish. Mish has been helping me out, you know, once in a blue moon, as he's been seeing what I'm doing with screenshots and all that. He's like, why don't you just do this? Like, just do this instead. It's easier. Just do this. So I've been trying to relearn, because for the longest time, what I was using for my recording software, I was using Audacity. I don't think there's anything wrong with Audacity personally. I just think that as far as trying to, you know, unlock more features and really trying to have that more crispier professional broadcasting sound, you know, as mom always says, you get what you pay for. And in the case of free, well, you get what you pay for. But I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, for an aspiring podcaster just starting off and everything, I would definitely say that, that's basically something you definitely want to wrap your brain around for the first couple of years and everything, but you should definitely be thinking about upgrading at some point and everything. So, yeah, so I was having some learning curves with some new recording software I've been playing around with. Really, I've been playing around with it the past couple of months, thanks to being in school, as I was able to unlock the software for free as being part of school and everything. And now that, I pretty much got access to it for life, I've really just been letting loose with it and everything. So you all have been noticing a couple of, I would say probably like the last 3 to maybe 4 shows. Those have been out a lot quicker on demand and downloads rather than the typical 2-3 days later. You're welcome. I'm getting the hang of it. So, solid AEW Dynamite. I would have to say, let me know what you guys had thought about it. I love the great opener between Brian Cage, the Machine Cyborg, Brian Cage taking on Hangman Adam Page. Good way to open up tonight's Dynamite. And good God almighty, Brian Cage defeating the Hangman. I gotta tell you, I did not see that coming whatsoever. Did not expect a Brian Cage win. But you know what? I'm totally okay with it, man. I've been a big fan of Brian Cage's work for some years now. True story. No bullshit. Not just saying that because he's on AEW programming. None of that bullshit. No. I've been a fan of this dude for a good while now. I've been a fan of his work. God, how far back would I say I go as far as being a fan of Brian Cage? I'm just trying to think. I know I definitely had checked out his stuff in Impact Wrestling. You know what? I want to say he... See, my brain is a little bit murky when it comes to his first rodeo in Impact Wrestling. Because I remember, seemed like it was maybe 2012 to maybe 2014 or 2015 that he was involved with Impact Wrestling. I think at that point they were still going with the whole TNA moniker. I think back then they were still TNA. So my memory is a little fuzzy on that. I'm sure if I was to maybe watch some stuff on the Impact Plus app, my memory would probably be rejogged and everything. But I definitely remember him from Lucha Underground. That for me, Lucha Underground on, is when I was definitely, holy shit. And I would say the first little bit after he came back to TNA, now Impact Wrestling, that's when I was really, right down to the point. I actually remember at one point, this was many years ago, I reached out to Brian Cage for an interview actually. And something weird went down at my end and I had to back out of it. And I have a really good MO when it comes to conducting interviews. Normally, I go above and beyond to, meet whatever needs, whoever I'm trying to interview. I normally go above and beyond to meet their needs. If I got somebody that'll say to me, yeah, I'm available to talk, but, sadly, I'm only going to be free from 7 in the morning until, 8:30 in the morning, and then I got a full schedule. I'm that kind of guy, depending on what's going on with my schedule, work schedule and all of that. I'm that type of guy. I got like so much flexibility, and it also depends on the talent that I'm trying to interview, right? But normally I try to do my best to go above and beyond. And I remember with Cage, he definitely was somebody, I didn't have to go to those lengths. But normally, to my point, the only time I will back out of an interview is if I'm not feeling well or I'm having some type of tech issues. And Lord knows in those previous years, I definitely was having a couple of tech issues, from a wireless standpoint, internet connection standpoint and all of that. But he was totally cool about it. I was like, maybe we could do something down the road. He's like, yeah, sure, bet, no problem. And I can't remember particularly. I wish I could tell you guys what exactly he was doing at that point that made me reach out to him. It wasn't anything scandalous. I can definitely tell you that. This was just something out the clear blue and everything. So, but Brian Cage defeating the Hangman. That, I mean, like I said, that was just very total fucking surprising to me. I'm most curious to see where this is going to take Brian Cage, if it's going to take Brian Cage anywhere. I'm most curious. So, because I mean, honestly, it's that time. It's that time to see Brian Cage come out more into the forefront. I personally feel, everything that we've been seeing of him thus far in AEW. Don't get me wrong, when he was paired up with Taz initially and everything, I thought all of that was just phenomenal. And when it kind of appeared as though, this was just going to be a case where, all right, we're just going to home in specifically on Brian Cage. And now, we're going to have Hobbs, and I get, now we got Taz's son Hook that's kind of thrown into the, but, I for me personally, I wish that Team Taz would just be more so focused on just Hobbs. And, we got Ricky Starks in there as well. But I just wish that at its core, I wish it was all about Hobbs and Brian Cage. I just wish it could just, the emphasis, I wish it could just be on those two guys and everything. But it's kind of felt as though it's gone a little bit backwards, so to speak. It's felt more of a faction standpoint rather than, okay, let's see what these guys can go do individually, or if they're going to go for tag team titles, let's see what these guys can do as a, so it kind of feels like the blueprint initially got lost in translation. So it's nice to see what's going on here with Brian Cage. And look, not for nothing, but based on what we've seen these past couple of weeks there, you just kind of feel as though that there's a little bit of dissension, that there's a little bit of friction, that there's an elephant in the room that needs to be addressed soon within Team Taz. Otherwise, I mean, you can see it. It's just a matter of, okay, so how's this going to implode? How's this really going to pop off and everything? And, Christian Cage just might be that guy. Nice tease there for Christian Cage. The reason why I'm mentioning Christian Cage, we'll get to him in a hot second there. Backstage segment, the Elite are chilling in their limo. They are looking so jam-packed. I ain't never seen a bunch of guys before in a limo all huddled up next to each other, all scrunched up. Yeah, man, we're having a good time. Yeah, look at us. Yeah, we're in the back of a limo. Woohoo! Woohoo! We're having a good time, man. Yeah. Hey, is that your knee or is that your dick? Like, I mean, they look so goddamn uncomfortable in that limousine. It wasn't even fun. I mean, you got four fucking Don. I was about to say Don West. I was about to say Don West. Hey, TNA fans! But no, you got fucking Don Callis. Any more fucking closer to the to the window, and I'm telling you, Don Callis just would have been all. I mean, seriously, I ain't never seen a bunch of guys packed. You gonna be that fucking huddled up like that in a fucking limo. There better be some girls in that limo. I'm just saying. A man's got to be able to breathe. You feel what I'm saying? A man needs to be able to spread them legs apart, and he needs to be able to let them balls breathe. Damn it. I mean, they just, hi everybody. I mean, they really just looked uncomfortable in that limo. Come on, y'all. Come on. What's up with that Tony Khan money, man? What's up with that Khan money? We couldn't get a more spacious limo. Come on now, Jesus. That was hilarious. That was just hilarious. But anyway, Don Callis plans on throwing a celebration for Kenny Omega's title win on Impact. And I love how he was just introducing everybody. Like, we don't know who the fuck all these guys are that we're seeing here. You're like, come on, man. Come on. Don't do us like that. Come on now. Omega talks about being pissed about what happened to his trailer from last week. But as far as he's concerned, it comes with the territory and everything. But nonetheless, everything remains calm. He's unfazed by everything that went down. It's funny too that he mentioned that he wasn't afraid, because the next thing you know, you started hearing the fucking limo driver honking the horn, and everybody, including Omega, just starts jumping around and shit. Like, what the fuck was that? And that shit was funny. And it turns out the fucking driver's like, oh, sorry, my hand slipped there. Sorry about that. So Omega tells Moxley and Kingston, as he has a message for them and everything, that if it's a fight they want, they're gonna get one. And if they want to try to get to him, the rest of the guys, they got to get through Nakazawa. Yes, Nakazawa. They got to get through Nakazawa first. You're like, what the fuck? Come on, dudes. Come on. Meantime, Young Bucks, they had to get out of that limo. Very surprised they were able to get out of that bad boy, because it was crammed. They had a match up next as Young Bucks taking on the Seidels. Young Bucks picking up the dub. I'm just trying to figure out how this was. Okay. Okay tag match between them and the Seidels. It was actually okay tag match. It was actually kind of one of those tag matches. What's been one of my biggest things to say about Young Bucks? What type of Young Bucks are you going to get? Are you going to get some Young Bucks that's going to show up and, all they want to do is this infinite amount of signatures, false finishes, all this jazz? Are you going to got to get all my shit in? Are you going to get, one of those type of Bucks matches? Or, are you going to get Bucks that will actually show up and they want to try to tell a story in the ring? They want to try to come off competitive and everything. And, and this one kind of actually had a nice, fair balance, I personally felt, of the two. Because there's also that third equation. Sometimes you can get both of those in one match from the Bucks. But yeah, tonight was one of those where it was a nice, fair balance of the two. I actually enjoyed it for what it was worth. The little bit that I watched as I was doing this and some homework, for what it was worth, I actually had enjoyed this one. SCU comes out as the Bucks are getting their little celebration on and everything. Cass says Kazarian that is, he says if Matt has something to say, keep it to himself. It seems there's a lot that's changed. We got these new Young Bucks, new attire, new attitude, all of that. By the way, their wardrobe, I don't know, man. Their wardrobe, it kind of reminded me of, I can't even think of the character's name, but what they were wearing tonight, for some odd reason, I was reminded a lot of the main lead character from Final Fantasy VIII. If you guys remember that game. Remember that? He had a little black little leather coat with the white little puff collar, little black leather pants. He was running around with this big ass like trigger sword or whatever. And what the Bucks wearing tonight kind of seemed Final Fantasy VIII inspired to me, but it is what it is. I wouldn't personally wear that, even if I could be as small as the Young Bucks. You wouldn't catch me dead in that damn thing. Yeah, no, teach its own. Anyway, moving on. Let's see what else had happened from there. So yeah, recap about their new attitude and everything. Christopher Daniels chiming in as well. Basically they told Matt that the new attitude, everything that's going on with the Bucks, it sucks. So instead of beating their ass, they want to take the titles away from them. So all right, so this is where we are right now. SCU trying to set themselves up, take on the Bucks somewhere down the road for those tag titles. We get a Jade Cargill promo. Can we just see her in action again? I mean, seriously, between Dynamite, Elevation, Dark, like we just gotta do more stuff with that girl, man. Come on now. Third matchup of the evening, Orange Cassidy taking on Penta El Zero Miedo. It actually was pretty damn good. Penta looked like a fucking beast in this matchup personally. I don't know what you guys have thought about this one, but he looked pretty damn good. I would have to say, as far as matches of the night goes for Dynamite, hands down. Hands down, I got to give it up to Orange Cassidy and Penta. I mean, they went out there and they threw a fucking clinic out there. Orange Cassidy picking up the dub, but this was some good shit. It almost kind of felt like a pay-per-view quality type of match. At that level, I thoroughly had enjoyed this. No bullshit. Of all the matches I've seen, particularly from Orange Cassidy thus far, and I mean, look, it's no secret as far as the type of wrestler he is and everything. All you got to do is just look up some of the stuff that the man's been doing on the independents and everything long before coming to AEW, and you know. So, but to have that nice rare treat be given to you on Dynamite, you feel where I'm coming from? That's where it's, because to a certain degree, he almost reminds me of, in a way, when you really kind of stop and think about it, he almost reminds me of Clint Eastwood and the Man with No Name trilogy, when you really kind of stop and think about it, especially when you go back and you look at the first Fistful of Dollars. Remember how for like a good chunk of the movie, Clint Eastwood is pretty much doing things one-handed. And you could almost see a narrative where that hand that he refuses to use, it's so powerful because it basically has life and death. Like, that's how much power it has in its hand. He can continue to give you a life with that hand, or he can take away a life with that same hand. And like, he tries to do his best to not necessarily avoid conflict, but not be the reason that there is conflict. You understand where I'm coming from? So, just when you kind of take that little analogy that I just put out there and you kind of blend that into how Orange Cassidy has been utilized a little bit, you kind of understand the narrative that I'm talking about. Like, even though you've done your homework, some of you, and you've seen what the guy can do on the independents, you know what he's capable of, yet when you're watching him in the AEW universe, you're wondering, okay, what's it going to take? What's it going to take before we really see him implode and just really wow us and everything? Yeah, and this was kind of one of those rare moments I personally felt where Orange Cassidy had really rose to the occasion. So good shit for tonight. Backstage, Tony Schiavone chatting it up with Britt Baker. This was filmed earlier in the day. Britt talks about how she never lies. She, talked about working her way up the rankings, and look what's happened to her now. I also had talked about the merch demo, the star power, talking about how she's at the very top of her game right now, and brought up Sheeta, saying, hey, let's remind everybody, why Britt is, the face, and pretty much said Sheeta later, yours truly, the new number one contender. So you're going, okay, all right, we're building this up. Okay. Honestly, I'm telling you, man, I really hope that Britt Baker is not just being built up and all of this good jazz. I hope that she's just not being spoon-fed to Sheeta, so it can just be another lackluster title ring and all that. That actually would have been a good one to put on the list as well. We should have entertained putting Sheeta on that list as well. But then again, you can make the argument that based off of the selections that we gave you guys on that YouTube poll, we did put that other category. So if you didn't think that name to add in there, it is what it is. You still got time before we get ready to go read the results here. Pinnacle pops up. Looks like they have their own security. Remember, this is about that parlay. Remember, the Inner Circle Pinnacle parlay. God, that sounds like a delicious dessert or some shit like that. The Inner Circle, the Pinnacle, the parlay. Like, speaking of sweets, I had tried Instacart for the second time. I was pretty impressed with what they had did last week. I actually had used them last week for the very first time. Stay with me, because it relates to this whole Pinnacle and Yummy and all that other shit. So stay with me a second. So I tried them out for the very first time ordering, and I was pretty impressed. I mean, they followed my instructions as far as how to go about leaving my groceries and everything, because, I don't need that face-to-face right now, unless a motherfucker has gotten vaccinated and all that, and they somehow tell me beforehand, it's one thing if they call me, hey, I just want to make sure that I personally give you the groceries, because, I just want to make sure everything's good. Any way you can come out, if somebody wants to, okay, sure. As long as you're vaccinated, all right. Or at least you're wearing a mask, that's cool. I'm down with that. But they were pretty cool. They followed the instructions and all of that. First time I ordered from Instacart, there was a new Colin Kaepernick ice cream I had wanted to try. And for whatever respected reason, I had a sweet tooth, but for whatever respected reason, I didn't put it in my order. I saw it, didn't grab it. The second go round, made a really nice dinner tonight. I made some spaghetti. I hooked up this nice Mediterranean salad. And that pretty much was it. Called it a night. And I was missing the spaghetti sauce, the pasta sticks. So I had hit my girl up last night. I said, hey, this is what I'm going to make. You down? She's like, oh, yeah, cool. I'll eat some of that. All right. I'm like, cool, bet. I go, okay, well, we ain't got no pasta. So either, since I got a day off, maybe you could take me to the store on your way to work, and, I'll catch an Uber or Lyft going back. Or, maybe you could ask your mom to maybe stop by the store, pick up that stuff for us. So, long story short, she forgets. I'm like, okay. So that's how I ended up doing Instacart again for the second time. This go round, I decided, okay, I'm going to put that Colin Kaepernick ice cream in the cart. So I put it in there. But then I started thinking to myself, it's very rare I actually see this ice cream. I've never seen this ice cream before. I remember the press releases and all that, but this was my first time seeing this ice cream to buy. So I said, And anybody that does Instacart, there's usually a little note you can put in there for your person that's grabbing your groceries and all that. So just to cover my ass, I actually went in there and I said, if they don't have this, don't get a replacement. I mean, it's kind of rare, that this is actually in the stores. Like, I've yet to see this. Sure enough, the motherfucker wasn't available. So I actually got refunded the money for that ice cream. So I'm curious if you guys have tried the new Colin Kaepernick ice cream. Let me know how it is. I mean, the combination sounds pretty damn good. If you guys can bear with me, I can actually tell you real quick, because I was actually chatting it up with a couple of people in the Discord, and I was like, man, this sounds good, but like everybody else was kind of like, yeah, but how does it taste? Like seriously, how does it taste? And let me see if I can actually find that real quick for you guys here. I know it has graham crackers. Give me a second here. See, I'm in the Discord, but now I can't find my fucking post here. So let me try this. I'll just type in Colin Kaepernick ice cream here. Here we go. Yeah, it sounds pretty good. When you fucking look it up here. Yeah. So it's a sunflower butter base, dairy free, caramel flavored ice cream. Contains fudge chips, graham cracker swirls, and chocolate cookie swirls. I mean, that sounds pretty good, right? That actually sounds pretty damn good. But yeah, if you guys have tried it, let me know what you think of it, if you recommended it and all of that good shit. So And for those of you wondering how the fuck did we get on the topic of that's because, see, everything makes sense. Everything's connected on this show. That's because I just said, oh, the Pinnacle, the Inner Circle, the Parlay. I said it sounds like some type of a meeting of some fucking yummy dessert there. All right, let's keep rocking and rolling. All right, so we had got this. We had got this parlay here. Let me go back to my notes here for this parlay. And let's see. Inner Circle. I'll give them props. That was a badass entrance that they had, coming out on the motorcycles and all that with the pyro. That actually was pretty damn good. Tony Schiavone had explained the rules for their blood and guts match. There's basically a coin cost to see who's gonna get the one-man advantage, but Spears grabs the mic from out of Schiavone's hands and says, nah, ain't gonna be no coin toss. He says they deserve the advantage since they were lured into this match. So, no coin toss, but a warning. Spears says that they will give their blood for this match. He then asks Sammy when was the last time he even wrestled a match. You know, as we know, it's been a good minute since Sammy wrestled. He tells Guevara that Jericho is leading him into some serious uncharted territory that basically they're gonna live to regret. You know, they continue to follow on with him and everything. Nice, good back and forth. You know, between particularly Sammy Guevara, Sean Spears. It was kind of nice to see Sean Spears get that mic time there, try to give his little 5 minutes to shine. You know, he's been getting kind of beat up a little bit verbally on social media, here and there and everything. Let's see, just trying to see if there was anything else that was kind of noteworthy here. Schiavone reveals that the Pinnacle won the parlay. They're gonna get the advantage. You know, that part to me was just kind of confusing. Whatever. But pretty much nothing but a bunch of hype up for this upcoming match and everything. You know, really, really good back and forth. Ortiz got in there. Santana got in there as well. Dax. All of them were able to get in a little bit of talk time there. So good stuff. Remember, that's going to be going down on May 5th. MJF got in there as well, saying some stuff. Jericho as well. Nice, good back and forth. Actually, one of my favorite highlights of the evening. Nakazawa gets in the ring, and he's got a headset. Out comes Kingston. And he says he's not doing this sports entertainment crap. He tells Mike to get out of the ring. Good shit right there. Out comes Kenny Omega and Don Callis. Kenny tells Kingston that he doesn't understand, you know, how all this is supposed to work. You know, and obviously they're mad at Kingston. They want to try to get payback for what went down with the trailer from last week. Kingston says to him, you know, you just don't get it, champ. You know, you just don't get it. You know, you think you can just pretty much take care of me and Moxley with your goons, like, you know, whatever. Nakazawa from behind hits with a laptop. Bullshit, you not. Somebody got hit with a laptop. I love this. Eddie goes to work on Nakazawa's head, hits him with an exploder. Yeah, this was nice. Eddie ended up telling Kenny Omega to get in the ring or he's gonna break Nakazawa's ankle. Kenny says, "Hey, it's all good, brother. As far as I'm concerned, Nakazawa knew exactly what he was signing up for. So if you wanna break him, go ahead. Ain't my fucking problem. I don't give a fuck." You know, so it's like you're like, damn. I mean, this was some cold, you know what? This was some. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. This was some cold shit, man. So out comes Cutler. Cutler comes flying through the tube. Turns out that was because it was Moxley. Moxley was the one responsible for this. Moxley then charges after Omega. Is able to apply a sleeper. They lock up Kenny's ankle. Looks like they're about to break it. They're demanding for a match. Callis yells for them to stop. Eddie, he ain't budging. He wants the fucking match. Callis says they'll make it work. Just don't hurt the champion. Whatever he wants. They demand a tag team match with Kenny Omega and Nakazawa, and they want it ASAP. Callis says they'll make it work. They continue to do a little bit more work on that ankle, but stop short. Callis says, okay, you guys got it. You want the tag match? You can have it next week. Now, you know what? I don't know about you guys, but of all the things to ask for, right? Tag match. Nah, man. Of all the things to ask for, how about a world title match? I mean, go all in. Go all balls in, or don't at all. All or nothing at all. One of my favorite Frank Sinatra songs of all time. Penelope Ford, rare on Dynamite in action, taking on Chris Statlander. It was what it was. It was okay. It was okay. It was a cute little match. Felt a little bit too choreographed for me, but it was okay. Chris Statlander picking up the dub. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out. There was another. Yeah, I actually missed this match. The Factory taking on the Nightmare Family. I actually had missed all of that. By the time I actually was paying attention, it happens, folks. You get old and you're doing all kinds of other shit at that time. I did see basically the tail end where I think QT Marshall was backstage. He was doing a lot of trash talking. He sees Cody's tour bus. He called himself trying to get on that tour bus, and turns out Cody was on it, and he was just beating the living crap out of him, and we basically were getting a nice preview, if you will, of a street fight, as you had onlookers that were seeing these two guys brawling and everything. And, it's weird because I don't remember how that actually ended. If anybody wants to maybe sound off on that, let me know, because I don't remember if officials had pulled these guys apart or if QT Marshall was successful in hauling ass. I just remember seeing them brawl, and pretty much we went to like a commercial break, and I thought for sure we were going to be getting some more highlights of, what we might have missed during a commercial break. So I remember for that, there wasn't even a picture-in-picture moment. By the way, the picture-in-picture moments starting to be a little bit of false advertising, if you ask me personally, because some of the stuff that we had got tonight when AEW said they were going to picture-in-picture, stay where you are, you're not going to miss anything. A couple of those, they were right. We had got commercials, but it was picture-in-picture the entire time. However, there were a couple of joints when they said picture-in-picture. We only had got picture-in-picture for maybe about 30 to maybe 60 seconds. And then the picture-in-picture went away as it was all about commercials. Full-blown commercials. So, I don't know what's going on with that. Miscommunication? I don't know what's up with that. TNT Championship match. Main event match of the evening. Darby Allin taking on 10 of Dark Order. Nice little tribute match to Brody. Apparently Brody in real life was very big on 10. Very high on him, spoke highly of him and everything. Definitely some plans was put in motion, and unfortunately, we know what happened with Brody Lee and everything. But this was a nice little tribute. I even liked the little video package that they did with 10 from Dark Order. I love the fact that they had 10 talking, and they had 10 talking about how winning that TNT championship would mean so much to the Dark Order and everything. It would definitely mean a lot to him and his career and everything, and basically how essentially he would be the second person from the Dark Order since Brody Lee to, get that title of the Dark Order. So like it was very nice. It was very nice how they had put that video package together and everything. Pretty much doing this nice little tribute match to Brody and everything. Good main event. Good main event. Darby Allin coming away with the dub. This was now his 9th title defense. So if I'm not mistaken, I'll have to rely on you guys. I believe he either tied Cody or he surpassed Cody. I can't remember which one it is. Because remember, when Cody was the TNT champion, I mean, he was defending it week in and week out. So I can't remember, because JR and them, they mentioned a little bit of history here for Darby as far as being able to defend that title. So he either tied Cody's record tonight or he surpasses. Either one or the other there. But good main event match to close out Dynamite for this week. Post-match, Ethan Page comes in, tries to attack Darby. Scorpio Sky is also there. He's attacking Sting. They tripped him up and everything. Once again, the Murder Hawk, Lance Archer, coming to the scene, coming to the rescue there for Sting and Darby Allin. And once again, you're seeing how it's going off. You're scratching your head and you're going, what is going on with the Murder Hawk here? What's the deal? Why is he all of, remember what I said from last week? Remember that? We need to know what's going on here. What is the Murder Hawk's agenda here for? Because it just comes off so bipolar. It just comes off so, what's the deal? Most importantly, another question you can ask is, can Sting and Darby Allin actually trust the Murder Hawk, Lance Archer? Man, the way that this is kind of coming off right now, okay, we've got Ego Ethan Page, we've got Scorpio Sky, and we've got Scorpio Sky, and then we've got Sting, we've got Darby Allin, we've got Lance Archer. That's pretty much, in that mix and everything. It just kind of feels like there's probably going to be some type of a 6-man tag match on the horizon. And, I don't know, man. It kind of feels like maybe there's going to be some screws to get put there on Darby and Sting. Maybe by Lance Archer. Who knows? Pivotal moment also on Dynamite tonight. Christian had some choice words with Taz. Remember, one of the last times Taz was chatting it up with Christian Cage, it was about taking him up on that offer, marinating on it, coming back to him about joining Team Taz. And Christian pretty much pulled Taz's card. It was a great little back and forth that they had going on and everything. It was awesome because Christian, the way he came at him, he was like, no disrespect. He was like, but man, you used to be the bomb back in the day. Just what everything that you were able to do in the ring, ECW and everything. You were the fucking man. These days, you talk a really good game and everything. I definitely got to give you that. You talk a really good game, but as far as backing up what you put out there, not so much. And as far as Christian is concerned, the only thing Taz has done at this point in his career is surrounded himself with the biggest, the baddest wrestlers that he feels, even without Taz, they would have inevitably found success on their own. So he pretty much in a polite way is saying that Taz is pretty much just mooching off of other guys' success, right? He's making himself come off as important, come off like, because of me, right? One of those type of deals and everything. Christian pretty much wishes Taz nothing but the best and everything. Um, he also said, he wishes that Taz could in some form come back into the ring and everything. But far as he's concerned, win or lose, he thinks a guy like Hobbs learned his lesson when he had faced Christian a couple of weeks back. If Starks gets in the ring, he's going to learn too. And hopefully, before it's too late, they'll realize, all the guys in Team Taz, hopefully all of them will realize that they're actually better off without Taz. So besides Christian shooting down officially Taz's offer to join Team Taz, he's pretty much also putting Taz on notice. Brother, I peep your game. I respect the hustle, but I see through all the bullshit. I know what you're really about. So Taz was just left in a big old hot steaming pile of piss and vinegar at that one. I'm liking that. That's a very interesting dynamic going on, that in 2021, Christian and Taz. I gotta say, I never thought I would see something like that play out before my very eyes. I kind of like where we're going with this so far. Good shit right there. Decent episode of Dynamite for this week, though. I gotta say, decent episode of Dynamite when it's all said and done. We'll talk about NXT and some other stuff in a hot second. Right now, though, if you guys been all right so far, you guys been enjoying yourselves. I hope you have been. Please make sure, if you haven't done so already, you go out of your way and show that ultimate support. Click on that like, hit that subscribe, click that bell, so you don't miss out on all the good content coming your way here on a weekly basis. Can we get into some Patreon shout-outs, by the way? I want to get into some Patreon shout-outs. Remember, patreon.com/RCWR Show. That's to go check out bonus audio video content you're not going to be able to find anywhere else. Patreon.com/RCWR Show. Shout out to Anthony DeBlasi. Tony, shout out to you, my friend. Shout out to Freddie. Shout out to Gino Morgan. Tony Being Gaming. You want the very latest in all things Marvel Strike Force, Marvel's Avengers, Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3. Check out Tony Being Gaming. He is on YouTube. Make sure you also show love to Wishful Walking Videos. They're on YouTube as well. Wishful Walking Videos. Shout out to Michael Wolf, J.D. Davis. Shout out to Screaming Bulls 1. He's a fantastic wrestling sculptor. If you need custom figures or busts made, make sure you show him love. Hit him up. You can get at him on Twitter at Screaming Bulls 1. Put in the actual number 1. Screaming Bulls 1 on Twitter. Hit him up. Good guy. Good shit. Love those. Love all these good kind people. That's our Patreon familia, man. Love these guys. NXT. Did check out NXT for this week. NXT was pretty good. Actually, I watched NXT earlier in the day, believe it or not. I didn't get a chance to watch it last night. I got in pretty late, and as many of you guys know, I was doing the review for NWA Power, episode 26. So for you NWA Power fans, that is available for on demand on the YouTube channel, Twitch, and all those respective outlets. The audio version, what I'm most likely going to start doing, I'm going to make the audio version of NWA Power be available on Patreon. It'll just be unlocked, and you guys will be able to, check that out. Great opener on NXT between Dakota Kai as she faced Mercedes Martinez. Oh man, I love this. I love this as a damn good opener. When I see matches like this, not to mention the women actually got a lot of love here on NXT. It just really kind of made me take a step back and remind myself how, wow, on NXT, the women they're put in these really great story arcs that as a fan you're interested in. There's like about usually 2-3 women's story arcs in NXT that's going on that you can really get behind and everything. And I just couldn't help but, as I was watching NXT earlier today, be reminded of the interview that Carmella had gave. I don't know if you guys had, paid attention to that, or if you are even aware of a recent interview that Carmella gave. But I'll go into that now. I mean, because I know we're talking NXT and all that, but that's how the show works. Whatever comes to mind, nothing is scripted and all of that. I have maybe the bullet points of what I want to talk about and everything, but this isn't a scripted show. So I was going to talk about this until much later on during the show. But yeah, Carmella had gave this interview to the Bella's podcast, believe it or not. And she spoke about the current booking of the WWE's women division, and she spoke about the recent release of the Iconics and everything. And here's what she had to say about the booking of the women's division in WWE. Quote unquote, even myself, I would sit at home and watch Raw, and it would be 10 p.m. before I would even see a woman on the show. It's like, this is a 3-hour show. What the hell? Even if I'm just a fan, which I am. Like, if I didn't work at WWE and I was just sitting at home watching, I want to see the women. That's why I tune in. If I'm waiting until 10 p.m. to see a girl, it's like, what the hell? That's not okay for little girls at home or whoever is watching, waiting for the women. It just feels like, oh wow, there's only a focus on maybe 2 women or 1 woman's storyline. Like you were saying back when you were there, we had 3 women's storylines on a 2-hour show, and that was when I was still with James Ellsworth. So we know it's a possibility. We know that they're capable of doing that. I think sometimes there's this weird shift and people kind of forget. We need to remind them, no. So, I mean, just marinate on that for a little bit. She does continue on. She does continue on here. She says, lost my place here. Give me a second here. We know that they're capable of doing that. I think sometimes there's this weird shift and people kind of forget. We need to remind them, no, we are a big part of the show. We don't have to have matches every week. We can do promo segments or backstage segments, even a 30-minute insert into the show just to show, hey, here she is. She's represented on the show. Then, if people are talking about it, maybe next week, we give her a little bit of a longer segment because people want to see that, whether it's me or whoever it may be. Very, very, very interesting shit right there. All right, so have that in the back of your mind. Read you a little bit more of what she had to say. Next up, she had talked about her act storyline later on in the same podcast with Billie Kay and the WWE releasing Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, quote unquote, again. I don't know what the right or wrong things to say is. All I can speak from is my experience, and we were super excited for this story, and I felt like, okay, I'm done with this whole sexy gimmick that they want me to do, which is fine. It's fun to be sexy. I feel like I wanted to show my personality more. I didn't mind the whole sexy Carmella, and I thought that the personality that was being brought about was a personality of somebody that was being this arrogant, enjoys the finer things in life, wants nothing but the best for her, in her career, and pretty much putting all the women on notice. I kind of like what was going on with her. I really didn't have a problem with that gimmick personally, but to each its own. Let's see, where was I? I wanted to show a little bit more of a fun side, and I was looking forward to doing that with Billie. Like you said, our entrance alone, she was cracking me up. So I was really looking forward to seeing where that was going to go, and unfortunately, we can't do that anymore. Even Peyton those two were some of my closest friends since they got here. So it was the first time I was really rocked by a release. So Carmella brings up some very valid points. Look, with regards to Billie Kay, I gotta tell you, even as critical and hard that I was on Billie Kay, even I couldn't deny way before her release that, all right, yeah, she's winning me over. I like the way that she's taking these little small windows of opportunity and trying to get herself over and look at this. Hey, this is pretty cool. This is a nice little running gag. She's actually found her little niche. She's actually found her own little spot here. She's got her own little thing going on. She made something out of nothing. She made something out of nothing. And shown the door. Peyton Royce, that was just one of those head scratching, you're like, she has the look, pretty solid in the ring. I still, for the love of me, I just don't get that, especially with the last handful of matches that she had while she was still in that company. One of them against Asuka, which I thought was just phenomenal. Go back and watch that match. If you don't believe, I'm not saying it was a match of the year candidate or anything like that, but it was a damn good outing. It was almost like she went out there with a serious chip on her shoulders or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe she kind of knew she was on her way out the door then. Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. But you look at what's been happening with the Riot Squad. I mean, that's a damn shame. What's been happening with the Riot Squad? Really stop and think about it. Really stop and think about it. You go over to the Raw side of things, and we got this silly little bullshit thing that's going on with Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, that's intertwined with Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose. All right, so that's one. And I think that might be your only main story arc for the women, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's like your only one. I'm just kind of going through the rest of it in my head here. Your second one, you've got the whole Charlotte Flair, suspended, not suspended. Somehow Charlotte is intertwined there with she's intertwined there with Sonya Deville, Adam Pearce. You got this whole power struggle thing that's going on, right? Okay, so that's two. Remember, Carmella just said, hey, remember we had like about three, right? Okay, so is there a third one that's going on? I guess technically you could say your third thing that's going on is you've got Rhea Ripley, who is the new Raw Women's Champion. So if you were to maybe be the defense and you're like, okay, I hear Carmella's points, but I'm able to come up with 3 major female story arcs that's going on for the Raw side of things. What do you got to say to that, Carmella? Now that's Raw. Let's go over to SmackDown. SmackDown, I'm not really sure what's going on. I'm not gonna put a front up to you guys because usually it's hit and miss. Some Fridays I'm able to watch, other Fridays I miss it. Last I saw, okay, so we got Bianca Belair. She's ready to take on all newcomers. Sasha Banks is still pretty fired up about everything that had went down at WrestleMania. She wants to try to have another shot against Bianca. Bayley is doing something. You guys are gonna have to jog my memory because Bayley's involved in something right now. I just can't remember what it is specifically. I'll need you all's help for that. Other than that, there really isn't, unless I'm missing something. You guys let me know because again, I'm kind of hit and miss with SmackDown, but I think that's pretty much it. for what's going on the SmackDown side of things. So, it's more of a question, an issue of, is it a brand issue? Or, are we just talking specifically about, okay, nah, look, we got a 3-hour show and there's only but so much that's happening on this show versus we've got this 2-hour show and we've pretty much only got one spot going to women during that 2-hour show. And all right, so are we talking about a fair balance of women representation on these two flagship shows? Quality rather than quantity, as I always like to say. What is the deal? What's the 4-on-1? If you ask me straight up, just everything that I have been seeing so far, watching all of the brands and everything, you can tell me that you're gonna have blah 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 women's matches on Raw. You can tell me that all you want. What I'm focusing in on is the quality. That's what I care about the most. For some people, I enjoyed Raw this past week. It actually had some decent parts. It had some funny parts. Well, that's good for you. But for the majority, they don't care about the hokey dokey bullshit. Watch Humpty Dumpty Nia Jax fall on her ass again. They don't want to see that stupid shit. There's nothing comedic about it. There's nothing it's not even remotely funny. It's not even a fucking chuckle, right? None of those things. So you've got this tag team between Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler that kind of just very flat when it's all said and done. Very, very flat. And we're kind of led to the impression that somehow Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose are supposed to be this new threat, and dethroning them as we're supposed to somehow buy into that. I buy more into a Naomi and Alana before I buy more into a Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose. Just being for real with you guys. And look, that's no shade to Mandy Rose whatsoever. No shade to her. It's just weird when you really stop and you think about the way some of these women have been booked so far, and then also what dirt do some of these women have? Because some of these women that are on this roster have had opportunities after opportunities after opportunities after opportunities, and yet we got to be a little consistent, and I think that's where people are a little bit not so divided, but why there are so many people very vocal about these last batch of releases that's come about, these latest batch of releases that's come about, because they're looking at some people, and I get people's intent. I get where they're coming from. It's not a case of, and I want for people to really understand, yes, there are those on social media that legit are saying this person should be fired, this person should be out of, it's like, I don't like stuff like that, right? I don't like stuff like that, personally. Wishing somebody to be out of a job, nah. I don't. Show me something that, like, definitively this person is a piece of shit. They need to be out of a job because, these are the facts. There's no denying it. Here's the evidence. Okay, I'm with you on that. But to just form an opinion and, that person shouldn't have a job. I don't like operating like that. But there's no denying that when you see some of these people that's been released, you just can't help but say, okay, so we get rid of Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, who showed a lot of promise. They were able to take something and make the best out of it. And we showed them the door, yet we still have a person like Dana Brooke who's had as many opportunities as you know what I'm saying, right? I that's just the first name that came into my mind. Nothing personal, but you understand what I'm saying. So I think fans would be a little bit more universally sound if it was a case where, well, they really were trying to clean shop here. They got rid of not just the Iconics. They got rid of Dana Brooke. They got rid of, insert whatever name you want to insert. I think there's going to be more releases that's going to be coming when it's all said and done, because now that the economy is starting to get better, a lot more people are getting those COVID injections and everything, that COVID-19 vaccine. A lot more people are getting that. You know, you got Uncle Joe. You got Uncle Joe basically saying, you know, look, you can do all of these if you get your vaccine, you know, versus if you don't get your vaccine. So I would expect there's probably going to be a lot more releases that's going to be coming. I honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if more releases were to come. Maybe it's April 28th right now. I wouldn't be surprised if more releases were to come before May, let's say May 15th, maybe May 17th and everything. So Carmella brings up some very good points, but you kind of have to dissect it a little bit more and kind of think in that type of fashion. One thing that there's no denying, though, back to NXT. You know, you're looking at NXT as I was earlier today, and I'm just, wow, the women were really representing here on this episode, as if they always are. They're always representing each and every week. But I mean, it just really kind of came to the forefront here with what Carmella has said in mind. Dakota Kai, Mercedes Martinez having a phenomenal opening matchup there. Love that shit. Mercedes Martinez, I love the fact that she's continuing to be intertwined here, be woven in here with Raquel Gonzalez and this eventual match that we know is going to happen for this NXT Women's Championship and everything. And I just love the physicality that was going on between Kai and Martinez. I was wondering how Kai was going to hold up, because, you know, sometimes you get little Dakota Kai, you're like, little petite little thing, you know, and I'm kind of wondering, oh man, I hope she doesn't look like a freaking little runt next to Mercedes Martinez, but it kind of balanced itself out pretty good there. I loved how Mercedes kind of gets in the face of Raquel Gonzalez there, kind of like, what are you going to do? Like, what the fuck are you going to do? You ain't going to do a damn thing. I'm like, I'm right here. What you going to do? You know, and some type of a bump happens or so. Oh, actually, it's kind of coming back to me. It's kind of coming back to me now. Ref was distracted. Raquel, if I remember, I think she was trying to take a swing at Mercedes, but Mercedes pretty much co-decked her. Gets in the ring, looked as though she was getting ready to make Dakota Kai eat defeat, and Raquel just fucking lost her cool and just big boot to the, I won't say face, kind of seemed like it was maybe supposed to go to the face, but definitely went to the body, laid out Mercedes. Match pretty much was thrown out. Gonzalez beating the crap out of Martinez. I loved it. I loved it. I ate that all up. That was good. Great tone that they set for that NXT opener for this week. Amber Moon, Shotzi Blackheart, they're chilling backstage. They're talking about how they're going to be facing the Ways, Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell for these tag titles next week. Frankie Monet comes to the scene. She reveals that apparently Amber and Shotzi had got some flowers or whatever, and she's wondering who they came from. And I believe, yeah, it's coming back to me now. Dexter supposedly sent these girls the flowers or whatever, or some shit like that. So both of those girls, they did not like getting flowers from supposedly Dexter. You know, they're both taken and all that other good shit. Cameron Grimes went jewelry hunting. This probably was the coolest segment of the night, because Cameron Grimes, we see when he first arrives at the jewelry store, he is, it's daybreak, right? Like you can kind of tell looking outside that, oh, it's nice and sunny outside. Hey, cool, you know, and he goes in there and he's looking for some nice fine jewelry and everything But did you peep out the guy that was chilling in the back that just had the freaking magazine? You know, he's just covering up his face real good and everything. I'm saying to myself, we couldn't just have him just read a paper like normal or a magazine like normal and just blur him out, because we got the technology now. We can easily just blur him out, but you know, whatever. It's all good. And he is looking around at this jewelry store. His segment stretched out for I think 2 segments it was that his segment had stretched out for. He ended up picking out this really nice Rolex watch, and then the next thing you know, a guy comes up from behind him and says, "That's a really nice looking Rolex watch, but it isn't $1 million Rolex watch." And then we see it's none other than the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase himself, and he just like he just rolls it. I loved it. That was the greatest freaking troll ever. I loved it. I loved it. You know, it just seeing what's going on with Cameron Grimes. It just kind of feels like he's chasing after greatness. It just feels like he's in the shadow and he's trying so hard to chase after greatness and trying to be greatness. What does that remind you of? It kind of reminds me of somebody over there with the Lakers, someone that's trying very hard to shatter all these records and be the new GOAT, and right down to the point he's even got to do his own little Space Jam movie and everything. It's just like, what that reminds me of, you know. But I love that. I thought that was kind of cool, you know, the fact that we got that Ted DiBiase cameo and everything. I hope that's not the last time that we see of Ted DiBiase. I'd love to see a lot more of him just trolling Cameron Grimes. I mean, that for me was funny. And I remember, guys, we were kind of talking about this some weeks back about Ted DiBiase, you know, how exactly are we going to see him pop up on screen again? Because you just knew that it was coming and everything. And it's nice that we finally got to see him. This is good shit. Grizzled Young Veterans talking hot trash about MSK, making an observation that MSK is doing all different types of matches left and right, but when it counts the most and it's all about facing them straight up for the tag titles, they ain't nowhere to be found. So they took some serious issue with that. Tommaso Ciampa, Toothless Timmy, that's what he called Timothy Thatcher. He called him Toothless Timmy. They came out and they pretty much, Tommaso Ciampa was really setting up the tone, talking about, you know, I see a lot of us when you look at you guys, you know, very similar, you know, you know, right down to the point. Thatcher actually, you know, he's pretty impressed with you guys, you work and everything. He actually was looking at some footage on you guys, you know, brought up something from TakeOver, and pretty much they proceeded to beat their ass. Did Tommaso Ciampa and Toothless Timmy. So that pretty much was it for that respective segment. So obviously we see where we're kind of going to next. Kaden Carter was briefly in action. She took on Toni Storm. Gotta tell you, I fast forward this one. No disrespect to Kaden Carter. I know what she's capable of. She's a phenomenal talent. I expect big things to happen for her in WWE. Seen enough of her stuff on the independents. I'm just that confident in her. If nothing were to not really flourish for her as far as an eventual call up on the main roster and everything, I think that would be disheartening. I definitely would be looking at that going, what the hell? But I didn't particularly care for her taking on Toni Storm. You know, sorry guys. Look, I know she's got thick thighs and ass and all that, but she does nothing for me. I've gotten so much on her now that, you know, I just don't get what everybody else is saying with Toni Storm. I just don't. Maybe if you guys were to point me out to like her top 5 matches so far, or like greatest matches since she's been in NXT, maybe that might somehow win me over or whatever. But
just what I've been seeing so far. It's like, other than the ass and the hips and the thing with the glasses and the little wink and all that other shit, like, what is, what is she really? Like, what else you got? She does nothing for me. I gotta tell you though, even though I was fast forwarding, I stopped the moment I saw Zoe Stark was on the screen, because I had forgot in that instant that, oh yeah, she did, Tony Storm that is, she did jump Zoe Stark last week when she had that debut match there against Saray. No Saray on NXT, by the way. I would have thought that they would have continued to try to build up on that, at least do a nice pre-produced interview with her, getting her reactions to, her first match in NXT under the WWE umbrella and all that. But we didn't get any of that, so I was a little bit surprised by that. But no, Zoe Stark had came out and she pretty much was talking trash to Tony Storm. Pretty much had caused a distraction, basically. Kaden Carter getting an upset dub over Tony Storm. So Tony Storm, Zoe Stark, that's basically continuing. Look, I love what's continuing to happen there with Zoe Stark, and I hope at this point that it's actually Zoe Stark that's gonna be the one to kind of, but it doesn't feel that way, does it? It feels like everything's really on Tony Storm. It feels like the big focus, the main focus. It feels like everything is all about Tony Storm right now. But marinate on that for a second. The fact that I gave such high praise to Kaden Carter, Zoe Stark, and for me, Tony Storm feels like the odd man out. Convince me otherwise. I'd love a good debate. Convince me otherwise, please. Santos Escobar promo was up next, pretty much talking about that main event match that he was going to be having with Elgato Delgado. It's a tongue twister. That little stable he's got. There we go. That little stable he's got. They're having a main event match later on in the night. We'll come back to that one. Let's see. The ways Austin Theory was in action against Bronson Reed. Huge implications right here. Bronson Reed wins. He gets another shot at Johnny Gargano's North American Championship. Indy Hartwell told the sad story. She came out there like a sad little, cute little wobbly puppy missing her little baby toy. That's how she was looking the whole time. I've seen my dog act like that many times when she's either looking for me or she's looking for her mommy, and she's just got the saddest cute little face, and she's just chilling at the top of the steps, just looking at the front door, just waiting patiently, so she can see either her mommy or her daddy, and get that nice quality playtime and all that. Indy Hartwell looked like she really missed her friend, or in this case, her boo, Dex. By the way, did you guys see? Are you aware? WWE apparently filed for a new trademark, Index. I mean, you guys pretty much know what that's all about. So she was looking sad in here for a majority of the match. Eventually, Dexter Loomis did show up. Indy was playing hard to get. She initially didn't want to see him. She didn't want to talk to him. Kind of like a Romeo Juliet thing we got going on here. Looked like they were about to have another intimate moment as Indy Hartwell magically somehow found herself in the ring, a little bit off to the aprons and everything, and weird little miscommunication goes, and all said and done, because of that miscommunication, Bronson Reed defeats Austin Theory. So he gets his shot against Johnny Gargano for that North American Championship. Backstage, the Way was trying to point the blame game. Never once did they say it's Indy's fault. Instead, they said, you know whose fault this is? This is probably the fault of, most likely, Dexter Loomis, it's his fault. You know who else's fault it is? It's Shotzi Blackheart and who's the other girl? Amber Moon. It's their fault for all of this craziness that's happening. Look at when they got those flowers earlier. Look at that. What do you think is going on with that, Indy? They're trying to get to your man. What you think is going on? So it was a nice little mind games thing that they were doing there, because later on, and you're kind of under the impression, once we see Indy Hartwell start to get pretty upset, and she storms off, because now that the thought is, oh yeah, I bet you Shotzi and Amber were the ones that probably had something to do with those flowers. Those came from Dexter. They're interested in Dexter, right? Ain't that your man? What's going on there? How you gonna take care of that, right? You're kind of under the impression that Candice LeRae is the one that planted that seed of doubt. Later on, Amber Moon and Shotzi, they were getting ready to have a match against Jessie Kamea and Aaliyah of the Robert Stone brand, when wham, all of a sudden Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae attacked them, beat them down from behind. That match never did go down. Pretty much as a result of all of that crap that went down, next week's NXT, we're going to see Amber Moon, Shotzi Blackheart defend those NXT Women's Tag Titles against Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell of The Way. We're also going to see Swerve Isaiah Scott in action against Leon Ruff. It's going to be a Falls Count Anywhere match. I'm looking forward to that. That should actually be the highlight of the night. Me personally, I hope that actually closes out NXT. I think everything that those two brothers have been doing so far and everything, that needs to be the one to close out NXT. Prove me wrong otherwise, but that needs to be the one to close out the show. MSK buttering up to Kushida. Kushida being the one to really be among the first to welcome them with open arms. That's why they felt it made all the sense in the world a couple of weeks ago that they tried to have Kushida's back and everything against Santos Escobar and his henchmen and all that. So they pretty much are saying, hey, look, as far as you needing help tonight, I'm more than happy to help you out. Remember, we still got that main event match to come involving all those cats. Imperium's Fabian Nachner and Marcel Barthel in action against, and they defeated Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. Actually, was a pretty good tag match. I gotta say, I love the seeds of doubt that is continuing to be in Drake Maverick's head there. He feels as though at any moment Killian Dane is gonna stab him with that knife in his back and turn it and basically side with Imperium. Just go ahead and do it now. Do it to his face. And Dane's like, you gotta have a little faith. It was like, it's not even like that. The one time Dane is trying to be a good guy here, he has good intentions. I thought that this was truly a career-defining moment here. Career-defining moment from the standpoint of the storyline, mind you, because if you ever had doubted, okay, is the Killian Dane, Drake Maverick, is we gonna blow this up? We're gonna just, because it was just starting to build up a lot of momentum. People were talking about it on social media and everything. Like, okay, so we're now just gonna pretty much be done with this. But to see in storyline that basically when it counted the most, and Killian Dane could have left many times during this match. He could have left Maverick hanging, but the fact that he hung in there, it just made you feel as though, okay, so we know where Dane is with regards to this tag team. He's all in. He's heavily invested. All right, so, but then you just can't help but wonder, okay, so he's all in, but what about Drake Maverick? Is it maybe Drake Maverick that's going to continue to become so consumed by the idea of Killian Dane will eventually turn his back on him, all in the name of joining Imperium and all of this other shit? Could y'all maybe see and entertain the idea that maybe Drake Maverick is going to put himself in a position where it's, well, you either, be the hunted, right? You know the old saying. So I just can't help but wonder if maybe he's going to try to proposition himself to Imperium, somehow join them, and Killian Dane gets screwed. I just can't help but, because, for me personally, Drake Maverick, man, I haven't seen him do it in a good minute, man. But I tell you what, some of the shit that he was doing at Impact Wrestling, particularly, he was that little bad guy. Yeah, at one point that you just you hated him. You wanted for somebody to get their hands on him and beat the crap out of him and everything. I can't help but wonder if maybe majority of fans are kind of looking at this the wrong way, when the way they should be looking at it is Maverick is the one that's actually going to be betraying Killian Dane down the line. Don't say I told you so. Adam Cole interview. Yeah, a couple of interesting highlights here. I thought it was pretty cool and everything. Basically, the question was asked whether or not was it a mistake with regards to the UE, the Undisputed Era. As far as Adam Cole is concerned, he pretty much carried all of those guys in the UE, just like he had been carrying NXT on his back for the past 4 years. Talked about Kylie O'Reilly. Hey, Kylie O'Reilly, him getting my spot, it ain't happening. He's the new face in NXT. He opened up NXT. He main evented NXT. Like, he's replacing me. No, he's not even doing that. Not if I got something to say about it. Talked about Karrion Kross. He said Karrion Kross is good. Not sure if he's great. Also talked about that first championship title reign for Karrion Kross, saying, hey, it was a freak accident / mistake that happened when he got injured and had to relinquish the title. Adam Cole can't help but wonder if it truly was a freak mistake, or if maybe Karrion Kross just isn't ready. But make no mistake about it, that when the time comes and he has his eyes set for that NXT world title, clock is going to be ticking for Karrion Kross. So, that pretty much was the meat and potatoes of the Adam Cole interview. And pretty much as far as what's next, he would not reveal it. But pretty much, one thing you could count on is when he shows up, he's going to be making an impact and all that. So, just the way that you were kind of left, as far as impressions go, you were really left with the impression he's not done with Kylie O'Reilly, not by a long shot. And I just found it pretty interesting that after this interview was over, somehow we panned back to a monitor and basically we're shown that Kylie O'Reilly, in this dark place, was actually watching this Adam Cole interview, and he just has this look of disgust on his face. So you can't help but look at that and wonder, you ask me where things are possibly going to be going. I would not be surprised if eventually Kylie O'Reilly, Adam Cole have another match. Because remember something else that Adam Cole had said during this interview. He pretty much had said Kylie O'Reilly was lucky that he beat him at TakeOver. He's pretty much guaranteeing that this same outcome will not happen again. So, I kind of have a feeling that just flowing with the story arc here, it kind of feels as though that as long as Kylie O'Reilly and Adam Cole are both under the NXT umbrella, there's just no way that either man will be able to truly function sanely and flourish the way they want to in NXT. I think it's going to be a loser leaves NXT. Banned, they'll never be able to come back to NXT. I just kind of feel like it's one of those. Of course, this is WWE Universe. You can always kind of find your way around that with a loophole or whatever. But I have a feeling that eventually we're going to see a loser leaves NXT match between those guys. Wouldn't be surprised if it went down at a takeover. So peep that out. Peep that out for the very near future. Main event match. Oh, here we go. I gotta get these fucking names. Ready. So basically, MSK and Kushida taking on Santos Escobar, and his boys. Yeah. Delgado Fantasma. Yeah. I think I said it right that time. Every time I just hear that name, I be thinking of there's this cool little tech machinery. If you know your gadgets, there's this thing called the Elgato. And like every time I just be picturing Santos and his men, I be wanting to call them I'd be wanting to call them Elgato. My bad. Good main event match. That actually was pretty damn good. Solid tag team action. Had enjoyed it. Santos and his team coming out with the dub. Santos is really growing on me. I gotta tell you, I can remember in previous months I wasn't a fan. And it has shocked quite a few people, especially those I be chatting it up with in the Discord. They're like, "Man, you don't fuck with Santos?" I'm like, nah, I don't fuck with Santos, but he's growing on me, man. I'm really starting to enjoy his work. I mean, just all around, I'm really enjoying it. I can't help but wonder how that would translate on the main roster. That's the one thing where my mind is just a little bit, okay, this is great for NXT, but how would this resonate, on the flagship shows? Could it be as strong, if not even stronger, on the main roster? And that's where I'm a little bit kind of, I see the viewership numbers for NXT for this week, a little bit concerned for that. It looks like this show, which was their third week in this new Tuesday night time slot, it fell. It fell below 800,000 viewers, finishing with an average overnight audience of 744,000 viewers compared to last week's overnight audience of 841,000. So very little bit concerned with that. I mean, you really don't have any type of competition that's going on here. I mean, you look at what was going on Tuesday night. Curse of Oak Island on the History Channel apparently had topped the key demo rating with a 0.51 rating. And then you had Tucker Carlson Tonight on Fox, which topped at 2.951 million viewers. So I find that, and then isn't NBA on TNT on Tuesdays? Isn't that still a thing that's going on right now? So I mean, I just can't help but wonder exactly, that's very alarming. That's very alarming to hear. You have no competition on Tuesday nights when you come on. Like by the time you come on, think about it. NWA Power, that's at 6:05 p.m. Eastern. NXT doesn't come on until 8, right? So now maybe Dark is still on around that time, but I mean, really, you're truly uncontested. Very, very weird. Very weird what's going on there. Let's see. How are we doing on Showtime, by the way? How long have we been on here? See, we came on at like 10. We came on at 10:05. 11:05. Okay. So we got almost about a 2-hour show, give or take. Let's get to that polling result, man. So this was pretty badass. So let's set this up properly for those of you that don't know. So over on youtube.com/the RCWR Show, and when you click on the communities tab, there's an interactive poll that I put out basically Sunday going into Monday. And it reads, as discussed during the Impact Rebellion post show, you decide who has been the most lackluster champion for a promotion in recent memory. Vote below. If you don't like the picks, feel free to select other and type in your pick. Your options were champion Seth Rollins era with the Authority and J&J Security, Kenny Omega Jinder Mahal, other. And for other, you had to type in a name. Now, it's interesting because the people that commented, I was expecting, there's a name I haven't thought of. They basically were just going, and I like everybody that comments. I don't have a problem with people commenting, but it's like when I say one thing and it's the opposite, it's kind of like, so I was really looking forward to seeing people type in who they had in there for other, but nobody, 9% of the votes that kicked in for other, nobody would name their other. So I find that very, it's nerve wracking because it's like, who is your other, right? So 9% coming in at the bottom at number 4, 9% of you had said other. Coming in at number 3, champion Seth Rollins era with authority and J&J security. Again, that came in at 12%. I wouldn't be surprised if there were a decent amount of you guys that really didn't go all the way with Rollins there for the simple fact, well, yeah, he was obnoxious. He was pretty weak as a champion, but what really was carrying the hell out of him was the fact that we got to see Steph, we got to see Triple H, the shit with J&J security, the different ways he was figuring out how to retain his title and all that. It was kind of interesting, right? I could kind of, if that's your argument and why maybe you didn't go with Seth Rollins, I can totally see that. I was surprised that those of you that did go with other, I'm very surprised that you guys didn't go with Drew McIntyre. Just saying. A little bit surprised at that. Tied for first place. 40% of the votes, Jinder Mahal. 40% of the votes, Kenny Omega. You can't make this shit up. Kenny Omega and Jinder Mahal are tied for number 1. I mean, and this is just a snapshot. Really, this is just a snapshot. So the fact that, that says a lot, because really stop and think about that. That's why I love doing this show. That's why I love the fact that we're not under somebody's payroll, unlike some people, You don't have to worry about, Lee's getting paid by AEW, so he's got to put that fucking, he's getting paid by WWE, so he's got to, no, I'm going to give it to you right between the eyes. I'm going to give it to you unfiltered. I'm going to give it to you uncensored, okay? While everybody is just Kenny Omega, 10 stars, all this other shit. There are those of us that actually live in reality and we go, okay, yeah, he's winning all these titles left and right, and that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean he's the greatest. The fact that you guys have this man tied with Jinder Mahal, that should tell any true wrestling fan that's really unbiased that, oh wow, well, you know what? Maybe Kenny Omega isn't all he's cracked up to be as far as a champion goes and everything. And I'm not sorry, but for me, Kenny Omega, you ask me straight up, I feel that Kenny Omega, within recent memory, he has been the most lackluster champion for a promotion. He just it's weird because me personally, I miss that Kenny Omega that was in New Japan. I miss that Kenny Omega that was feuding with Chris Jericho in New Japan. And I remember how excited I was when Kenny Omega revealed, nah, I'm going to head on over to AEW. I was extremely excited. I'm like, oh man. And I got to tell you what I've been getting so far. The only time I actually really, no bullshit, the only time I actually dug Kenny Omega, believe it or not, I loved it when he was tag teaming with Hangman Adam Page. And you guys remember, I used to be on this show weekly. I used to be telling you guys how I love that tag team, how I wanted to see them have a long tag team title reign and everything, really build up the tag division and everything. I remember putting those guys over. That was like my most favorite time so far of Omega and AEW. And what's been happening with Omega posts, it's just, for me, it's just been really, hasn't been exciting. For me, it hasn't been, must see TV. It hasn't been, you all know how I felt when it came to that Impact Rebellion pay-per-view. I was quite dumbfounded. And I got to check out the numbers, but apparently, and I'm trying to confirm this, but apparently the pay-per-view buy rates for Impact Rebellion wasn't anything impressive. It was pretty bad from what I understand. And that's despite the fact that you had title versus title, winner take all. I heard that the pay-per-view buy rates were pretty bad. So I'm trying to confirm that. Give me like a day or so, and I should be able to confirm that. As long as you're following me on social media, I'll actually have that information be posted, and I'll definitely give you guys my thoughts to all of that. Let's see here. Also in the news, we got Tony Khan. Tony Khan's doubling down. A lot of fans are concerned about what's going on with AEW as far as Wednesday nights go, because Turner Sports, they signed a new TV deal with the NHL. And so as a result of that, it's going to be bringing NHL hockey action to TBS and TNT. So questions, fans are wondering what's going on there with AEW. What does it mean for AEW Dynamite and everything? And Tony Khan, he pretty much had said, look, as far as I know, as it stands right now, Wednesday nights, that's our night. Our time slot, that's ours. That's our home. Love the partnership that we got going on with TNT. We got like over 2 years left on this current deal. Basically in a nice way, he pretty much was saying, if there's anything that needs to be tweaked or whatever, pretty much they're more than willing to. But as far as he knows, as far as the future goes, as far as a contract that remains, time that remains on the contract, they're going to be right where they are and everything on Wednesday nights. He did say, as far as, if he has to consider a new opportunity as far as moving, pretty much, he's going to consider all the options that's available. So, pretty far ahead right now. So I really wouldn't be getting all antsy about that. I really wouldn't get all, let's wait and see what happens once it comes time for the contract to be renewed and, kind of get those early indications. I mean, honestly, if you ask me straight up, what's like the worst case scenario I could see happening? I mean, if there are some damn good matchups as far as NHL action goes on Wednesdays, particularly, then it could be a case where maybe you would see NXT get company on Tuesdays. That's very well possible. Because I mean, usually, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but if I'm not mistaken, usually Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, right? And Saturdays. That's usually like because I'm not a hockey fan. I'm not I watch some here and there, but I'm not like an avid hockey fan. But do I have the nights right? Is that when they're really most active? Hockey, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Kind of feels like maybe Thursday as well, because I could have sworn I've seen some hockey games on a Thursday as well. But yeah. Let's see. Other than that, let's talk about these WWE quarter reports. And actually, right before I get to that, right before I get to that, apparently the Supreme Court, WWE related news, apparently the Supreme Court, they declined to hear about the WWE concussion lawsuit appeal. Lawyers from both sides had responded. So all of this picked up with the Associated Press, as they had picked up the story about the U.S. Supreme Court declining to hear arguments from Konstantin Kairos over the WWE concussion lawsuits. And WWE lawyer Jerry McDivitt, he commented with regards to the news. He said, and I quote, "We're glad it's finally over. We were completely vindicated." And the lawsuit prior to its dismissal was a class action suit against WWE over their alleged failure to protect athletes who later had concussions. Remember, this included, we talked about this off and on over the years, this included Billy Jack Haynes, Big Russ, McCullough, Ryan, Sakota, Luther Reigns, the wife of the late Viscera. And according to the article, Kairos is facing $500,000 in sanctions against him. So now in new updates, Konstantin Kairos, he commented on the Supreme Court declining to hear the appeal. He said, in part, "The wrestlers are dying of CTE despite the inaction of the justice system. Our team is proud to have brought their claims to our highest court and hopeful that this brings awareness to their ongoing struggles." Look, as long as I have been podcasting, and any other veteran podcaster will tell you, any other sports journalist will tell you, that's truly unbiased and, no hidden agenda and all that. We'll tell you, as far as Konstantin Kairos goes, he is the worst type of lawyer that is out there. For years upon years upon years, this man has been trying to get a payday. This man has been putting all these thoughts and shit in these families' heads, thinking that they're gonna somehow, get a nice payday and all that. Just the way that he's able to, manipulate them, have them join in this lawsuit and everything. And not for nothing, but some of the people, look, I hate bringing up this particular story. I really hate particularly bringing up this story. But this should kind of tell you all you need to know about some of the people that decided to join in on the lawsuit and everything. For example, the late ex-wife, the late widow of Viscera, Cassandra Frazier. I remember when she had first revealed on social media, this was some years back, you can easily go back, pull up the shows from the archives, and you can listen for it to yourself. Matter of fact, one of the show excerpts, I believe, is actually on the YouTube channel. Matter of fact, if you guys can indulge me for a quick second, I should be able to tell you what exactly to look for when you're pulling it up, but I'm almost certain that it's a show excerpt. But while I'm doing that, I can multitask at the same time. I remember when she had first, put out there how WWE was not trying to help with the funeral expenses and all kinds of other stuff and everything. And I just remember, as a fan of Viscera's and everything, going back to Men on a Mission, I just remember being upset when I had heard that. And it was so heartbreaking. It was so heartbreaking to hear. And yeah, it looks like, yep. So if you type in Viscera RCWR Show, again, if you type in Viscera RCWR Show, man, I can't believe it's been 7 years since he's been dead. That is crazy. Time has been flying. So if you type in Viscera RCWR Show, one of the first videos you'll see is the Big Daddy V, aka King Mabel, aka Viscera, dead at 43, most underrated, remembered, and I talked about him for like 17 minutes. The next clip that you see is titled Cassandra Frazier, Widow of Viscera, Sues WWE. Details on a gold digger. It's a 10-minute clip now, and this is from 6 years ago. So let me set this up properly. So again, I remember first hearing about the stuff that was going on with Cassandra Frazier, and how WWE wasn't trying to help with the funeral expenses and all this other shit. And I just remember being very upset about all of this. And I just remember reaching out to her privately. And I had said, hey, look, I'm so sorry to hear what WWE is doing and everything. I actually would like to try and really provide you a platform where it's not behind a paywall from a podcast. It ain't no, hey, you gotta pay to hear this. You could come on my show, unfiltered, uncensored, speak your piece and everything. And, I told her, I said, look, I'm well connected to a lot of folks in the wrestling website business and everything. It'll pick up the traction that it needs. But it's you in your own words. Okay. And I just remember, really trying to be there and everything. And I was also talking to her about trying to set up also trying to see about setting up like a GoFundMe or something like that, try to get the ball rolling on it. I was like, there was a whole lot of shit I was willing to do for her, to really try to help her out and everything. So one of the first things she says to me basically is, I'm not going to waste my time without being paid. She says, you got to forgive me. It's been like 6 years, right? But I'm pretty sure like out of 100%, I'm about 80%. I'm about that accurate. That's pretty much how it had went. Like she wanted money, to be paid for the interview and all that. And, I remember saying to her, I said, wow, I said, I don't know how I danced around it. I didn't blast her out or anything like that. But I just kind of remember saying something along the lines of, hey, I can't afford to, pay you for, for however much. Oh no, it's coming back to me now. It's good. Yeah, she said something about she wanted to be paid, for her time. And yeah, I said something along the lines of like, I don't have money to be paying you. What I really wanted to say is, hey, we're trying to create a great big positive domino effect so that, good press, da 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 da. And I remember, when I kind of politely put her down about, I'm not trying to pay you for no. And then I remember her saying something along the lines of like, I gotta work and some other shit. And I just remember saying to her, I said, look, I said, I totally understand where you're coming from. It's like, you have financial responsibilities, you have a job or whatnot. Like, I work as well. It's like, this isn't all I do. I don't just, be in front of a microphone all day. I got a 9-to-5 job as well. And I told her, I said, look, I said, as with all guests, I can complement your schedule. You tell me the day and the time that you actually want to, sit down, do the interview when you have a free moment, and we can actually do it. It's no problem. And I remember she was like doing this whole bait and switch for a couple of days. She was like hitting me up at the most random moments about when to do an interview. And for the love of me, I could, of all the guests that I've tried to book over the years, this was one that was the most weirdest, because typically any podcaster will tell you when it comes to booking a guest, they like to try to do it a couple of weeks in advance. At minimum, at least a week in advance, so that they can get press releases out, create the artwork, get the social media buzz out there, pay for any advertising joints promoting the appearance, generate any questions that maybe folks have for that respected guest. So at bare minimum, at least a week out. Some they like to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks out, but typically a week out is what you'll get. If you do your rounds listening to enough podcasts, you know that there are normally a week out. Our next guest, week out. And I remember she was just hitting me up at the weirdest fucking times. As far as doing an interview, I remember one time she wanted to do something like at like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like right here, like on, she very, very sporadic, very, very inconsistent, and I just remember politely saying to her, well, no, this is how we typically, operate, blah this, blah that. And I just remember it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But the main point of it at its core, everything concerning her and doing an interview and talking about her, it was always about money, money, money. And my personal interactions with her, it was all about money, 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 money. And it just gave me a bad vibe. It just did. I don't give a fuck if you're black. I don't give a fuck if you're white, if you're Latino, if you're Asian. Man, when you give me the douche chills like that, I just can't help but go, all right, I'm gonna stay away from you. And sure enough, here comes the Kairos motherfucker, gets her in on this frivolous fucking lawsuit, and a bunch of other people. And it was just kind of one of those, he is all about that Constantine lawyer. He is just all about trying to get a payday. He is no different than those lawyers that you see on TV.
Have you been involved in an accident? Or did you recently eat a box of peanut butter Captain Crunch sometime between January 1st, 2020 to July 4th, 2021? You may have caught salmonella. The people here at Some Dumb Fuck, and Some Dumb Fuck Law Firm are here to help. We're getting together a class action lawsuit. Join in on it now, for more information. It's like, and you're kind of thinking to yourself, I think I had a box of peanut butter Captain Crunch sometime during that year. And then it's just like this whole fucking spill. The lawyer gives you this whole fucking spill why you need to join in on this class action lawsuit and all that. It's like, okay, but first off, can we even prove that you were sick? Can we even prove that, whatever problems you were having health-wise, that it was because of this cereal, and when you ate it during this time period, or if maybe that just wasn't the result of something else completely outside of eating cereal altogether. It's kind of like one of those type of deals. I've always looked at him as basically an instigator. I've always looked at him as someone that just basically riles people up just to rile them up, for no apparent reason and all that. And like I had said a couple of days ago, once this news had came out, I said, I hope that finally, when it's all said and done, this guy is now fucking done, because all these years that he spent trying to get a payday off of WWE, and he just keeps dead end. He's done so much more harm than good when it's all said and done. So much more harm than good. And for me personally, it's not about, oh, it'd be nice to see some of these people get into the WWE Hall of Fame. It's not even about that. For me, it's just about, look, on the one hand, I wish that WWE, and you know what, in later years, I'll give them credit. It seems like they're trying to do a little bit more. I'll give them that, but there's so much more that they can do. I mean, to hear about a wrestler that passes away and a family is struggling to get the money together for funeral expenses, as far as I'm concerned, once in WWE, always in WWE. There should be a phone call from somebody within WWE. Hey, we heard so and so passed.
Is there anything we can do to help? Anything that you need? We're here to help. What do you need? I mean, automatically it should be, it's a fucking write-off. Boys and girls, it's a fucking write-off come tax time. So, I mean, essentially, they could get a good amount of that money back. And I, for the love of me, I just don't understand. They broker these deals with Peacock, NBC, and they got that good Saudi Arabia blood money and all this other shit. And when it counts the most, you feel where I'm coming from. So you just, when you really kind of take a step back, you just, I'm too optimistic sometimes. Sometimes what I think would be awesome for a great, as far as a great utopia goes, and the way a company should be operating, But for me, when it comes to pro wrestling, it's like, I don't think it should be even that hard. I don't even think there should be a second thought. You gave your life, you gave your body to the sport of professional wrestling for these promoters, or for one particular promoter for X amount of years, and when it's all said and done, you're hurting, and as far as I'm concerned, promotion should be able to fucking step up to the plate and do something. Obviously, if you were working for a promotion for like 6 months, right? I mean, come on. Now, if you're there for 2 years and up, then it's kind of like, okay, you know what? We should be able to do something for this family. It's just heartbreaking when you hear some of those stories. It really, really is. But me personally, I hope that's the last time we fucking hear of this dude, because I always get worked up when I hear this fucking dude. Seriously. All right, so let's talk WWE 2021 earnings here. And let me pull this up here. This was really good, by the way. I just want to pull up some of the main key points here. Let's see. So Nick Khan had talked about the significant developments that's been happening in the media industry that signals to them a marketplace that continues to put a medium on live content. And he had promised an update on new content and an update on a return to live events. He noted that the recent completion of content distribution deals like Amazon grabbing Thursday NFL package, and how the NFL and NHL got substantial increases in their rights fees, which indicates increased demand for live content, even with linear ratings that are down. They believe that this is basically an indication of where the marketplace is heading, and that the majority of the networks are looking at linear and streaming rights, and the days of splitting those rights look to be over for now. They're content that their rights portfolio are positioned in long-term growth, and says that they and Peacock were thrilled with the results of WrestleMania. Khan also highlighted the promotion from Fox and USA for WrestleMania, and says that it was a success for subscriptions for Peacock, which makes them excited for potentially replicating that to key international territories. There was also talk about the Tencent deal in China, which has seen a 30 times increase in viewership in the country. He also pointed out to their success in India and the UK. I mean, we know how they've been very fixated on the UK and in India. And there's a reason why Great Khali and all that went into the Hall of Fame and shit. Also, there was talk about that first NFT releasing, which sold out within seconds. They plan on doing more NFTs in the near future. They remain focused on original programming to WWE Studio, including a multi-episode anime series sold to Crunchyroll, and Young Rock, which is a big success on NBC USA and Peacock. Also hyped the rating success for Steve Austin's biography, which was the highest rated episode in 16 years, and that WWE's Most Wanted Treasures retained 79% of that audience. So I mean, that's pretty good. Off to a good start. Stephanie McMahon then jumped in. She talked about the success of WrestleMania. Bit of inflated numbers, talking about basically 50,000 was the attendance number. Also, WrestleMania media coverage had increased 25%, and that individual news stories reaped 1.2 billion impressions. So, pretty good stuff right there. Also, as you guys have kind of seen by now, they got that new partnership with DraftKings, as they are an official partner of WWE with their free-to-play tools, or pools rather, and said video views across WrestleMania week hit 1.1 billion and 32 million hours across the platforms. That's an increase of 14% and 9%. And she calls WrestleMania the most social program for that weekend. So good stuff. Key brand metrics. Let's go here. This is where it gets a little more interesting. Raw viewership has been stable since they moved out of the PC to the Thunderdome, and SmackDown ratings are up 9%. She noted that Bad Bunny's appearances, despite how some of us had felt about, I'm sure now a lot of us feel pretty damn good about Bad Bunny, but peep this. With regards to the Bad Bunny appearances, it led to leaps of an increase in the Hispanic demographics, and that digital consumption was up by 7%. YouTube crossed 75 million subscribers and is the fourth most viewed channel in the world. Sponsorship and sales revenue was up 19%, excluding an international event like Saudi shows. Let's see here. Quarter one still saw a challenging environment, and revenue was $263.5 million, down 9% due to live event cancellation and loss of merchandise sales due to COVID-19. That's why if you kind of stop and think about some of those ad sales you've been seeing on WWE programming, for tonight only, buy one WWE item, get a second one for $1. You know, that's why they've been trying to make up. That's why when you see that, and now you're seeing WWE try to do their thing with the virtual signings. I'm sure you guys have seen that by now. Some of you guys, if you're not aware how some of these virtual signings basically work, let's say, just hypothetically speaking, for example, let's say, let me think of a name real quick, Kevin Owens. Let's say Kevin Owens through WWE is going to have a virtual signing. So basically, WWE will give you all their information on their official website, and basically for $175, Kevin Owens will, you'll get his autograph. You know, he already has the pictures. All right, so you're going to get his autograph, and that's pretty much going to be mailed out to you. And then you'll also get to chat with Kevin Owens for about 2 minutes. You'll get a recording of that video, okay? And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, you know, some of them will operate like that. I've seen others where they do a lot more for the money and everything, but that's pretty much how a virtual signing works. And I had to take the time out to explain that, because some folks actually were not even aware how these virtual signings operate, because it's relatively new to them. So that's why, if you kind of notice, WWE been doing more virtual signings. You know, they got to make up for that money somehow. Again, we're talking about down 9% because of the live event cancellations and the loss of merch sales and all that. All right. Adjusted OBIDA grew 9% in spite of that, reflecting upfront renegotiation of their licensing agreement and a decline in operating expenses due to live event costs. The adjusted OBIDA for media was $107 million, up 4% on increased revenue and profit from Peacock, as well as an escalation of content fees. So I mean, that's really where that Peacock deal, man. That Peacock deal. Also, operating results continue to be impacted by the year-over-year increase in production costs, but they achieved efficiencies quarter over quarter, and that the investment in the Thunderdome will continue into quarter two. It's said that they produced nearly 650 hours of content across the quarter on various platforms and continue to develop their original programming. Live event adjusted OBIDA was a loss of $3.4 million due to the 97% decline in live event revenue. So look, all these people that continue to jump out there and say, WWE will never return to live events. They will never do live shows. Like, we're talking a 97% decline in your live event revenue. No. They're gonna, trust me, after what Biden basically and the CDC had laid out this week, WWE is, they're like that fucking raccoon gif rubbing their fucking hands together. Boys and girls, I would not be surprised if, let's say, SummerSlam on, they're gonna start going out on tour again and all that. Don't be too surprised. And I told you guys a long time ago, I said something along the lines of probably before the end of 2021, I wouldn't be surprised at the latest 2022. If you remember, I said I wouldn't be surprised if all the wrestling promotions, it gets to that point where, okay, we got this pandemic under control. Let's go ahead. Let's get back out there. So peep that out. Let's see. And they're actually looking, they noted in this conference call, they're looking forward to the return of regular ticketed events, but predicting the pace of that return is challenging. And as of that particular moment, they didn't anticipate it until at least the second half of the year. So that sounds about right. About SummerSlam time, maybe that's what's going on. Consumer product OBIDA was $6.7 million, up 76% due to high royalties and profit from video games, including mobile. New products like title belts and a suit of Stone Cold merch plus action figures at Walmart that pretty much had helped them out. Every time you saw Bray Wyatt put up a unique mask, limited quantities of shit, shit like that definitely had helped them. If there was ever a time for WWE to get back into the DVDs, just saying. Overall cash generation was about $54 million, down slightly. Improved operating performance and more were offset by the timing of collections associated with the network revenue. They did a return of $84 million of capital to shareholders, including share repurchases and dividends. As of March 31st, WWE holds about $461 million in cash and short-term investments. WWE estimates credit capacity of $200 million. Talking about last quarter, they issued guidance for 2021 adjusted OBIDA of $270 million to $305 million. This reflects the estimated revenue growth driven by Peacock and the gradual ramp up of live events, plus the escalation of core content fees. They're not changing guidance at this time, but it's subject to the usual. They're anticipating increased spending on the new WWE headquarters as they restart the project the second half of the year. They estimate the total capital expenditures of $65 to $85 million to begin construction and enhance WWE's technology infrastructure. With regards to quarter two, they estimate a decline of adjusted OBIDA as incremental profits by Peacock and content rights fees are more than offset by increased production, personnel, and other operating costs such as the Thunderdome. They're not reinstating more specific quarterly guidance at this time. Let's see. When asked about ratings and what lift they expect as they return to the more normal product and anything new done on storyline and talent front to re-energize things, Khan said they look at ratings the way buyers do, a combination of linear streaming everything. He said their numbers are robust and said it's a challenge in linear content for everyone as eyeballs are growing away from it compared to other methods. They've seen increases as they've launched new methods and said the return of fans will help them in a big way, which they're yearning for. So that is pretty much. Let me just skim a little bit more further here, just making sure I'm not missing anything else from the quarter one notes. Yeah, that's pretty much the main gist of it. So, what's the main takeaways to come away from with regards to the quarter reports? Okay, so basically, as far as the way fans go about consuming the WWE product from a social media, digitally standpoint, all of those numbers, all of that shit went up. To like really break this down in layman's terms for those of you that what. All right, so that's one. The deal with Peacock, and they're still kind of, they still have that little bit of a residue there from the deal that they worked out with Saudi Arabia. They're still cash flow positive in that. So that kind of carried over a little bit there. All right. So it's another thing that you can think about and be like, okay. Live events has hurt them tremendously. They're down 97%. Okay. Very understandable. What happens at these live events? Think about it. Merchandise sales, not for nothing, merchandise sales was also down as well, if you recall, right? So that's why you keep seeing the sales on WWE Shop and all that. We just talked about how they're doing the virtual meet and greets and all that, right? So you got all of that going on. But the live gate, Raw. We're talking Raw, SmackDown, NXT UK. We're talking for the pay-per-views. They are missing a nice. Understand, it wasn't their main meat and potatoes. Let's make sure we're really homing that in. I would say within these last, maybe you can make the argument within the last 10 years, that hasn't been like their main meat and potatoes of what's helping them bring in their money. Right, but it was bringing in a substantial amount of money, right? So that's something else that you got to look at as well. Also, you look at the fact that they now got this relationship going on with DraftKings. Some of these sponsors, I don't think that was really highlighted enough, but some of the new sponsors that they've been able to take on outside of DraftKings. Hell, WrestleMania being able to partner up with Snickers once again. Let's think about that. The new partnership with, who's the joint that they got where The Miz and John Morrison, they were trying to get a car. That's a new sponsor deal right there. They got so many new sponsorship deals that, in its own way, when you kind of add it all up, it's been kind of helping them, so to speak. So, there's definitely some pluses. There's definitely some negatives as well. But just looking at the current trajectory, if I were to make an estimate, I would say that WWE is probably, like I said, let's start with the live events. That's probably, I think, at the latest SummerSlam. It's probably but then even at that, see, this is where it gets kind of like, you got to try to operate in a way where you're meeting the respected guidance and regulations for that respected city in that respected state. because not everybody is still going to be for their outdoor events and all that. Not everybody is going to be at 100% capacity. You know, you got some states like over here in the DMV, you know, we got some joints where it's like, you know, you can pretty much open up at 50% capacity, right? Once you reach 50% capacity, or you reach 250 people, whichever is first, right? I mean, they give you like some weird math bullshit like that. So it's going to be a little bit tricky. So, you know, it could be as early as SummerSlam and WWE they start doing like limited dates. You know, one event in this city, another, and I could see something like that maybe happening, just to try to do things on a trial run before they really just fucking. But I definitely see before the end of 2021, I definitely see them going back on tour, and I just kind of feel as though maybe first quarter of 2022, definitely by because we already know where WrestleMania is going to be next year. So, I mean, it's going to be in Texas. So, I wouldn't be surprised if as early as that Royal Rumble, so Royal Rumble's in January, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe January of 2022 is when they really just start going full throttle and everything. Because, again, you got to go back to what the CDC laid out this week and everything. I mean, once you get, in case you guys missed it, once you get fully vaccinated, that's it. That's it. Okay? Now, the only place that you really need to be concerned about wearing a mask is when you're going to a massive gathering event. Okay, so if you're going to a WWE event, tons of people, even if you are vaccinated, you definitely still want to wear a mask, right? Whereas a person that hasn't been vaccinated, they definitely kind of need to stay away from shit like that, right? Because that could potentially be a super spreader, and it could be bad for you if you haven't been vaccinated. So there's a lot of motivation now more than ever why you should go get vaccinated, right? If you haven't done it yet, you know, now you kind of want to, especially if you've been yearning for, I can't wait to be done with these goddamn masks. Well, there's a little bit more motivation for you there. But yeah. Other than that, not much else has really been going on since last we were on the air with you guys. I see Mickey James had tried to explain some of the stuff that had went down there with the whole trash gate. That's a fun read. I'm not gonna, if you haven't even, do yourselves a favor, go check it out. But it kind of matched up to what I was saying as far as, you know, originally when she put that post out there, you know, she didn't look at it as a big deal. There was no malice behind it. She wasn't even trying to take shots at WWE. She just thought it was kind of, you know, poetic, considering, you know, what all had went down with her career. And not for nothing, but she even talked about how, now this piece of information I did find interesting. Check out the podcast, but I did find this a little bit interesting. You know, it was talked about with her, you know, hey, you know, we kind of want you to retire. We want you to be an agent. And she talked about how, you know, she really did entertain it and everything, but she's seen what happens to those that are agents. And, you know, whenever it comes time to get that praise, you know, it's not a team effort. It's usually just going to, you know, one person. And that just kind of rubbed her the wrong way. She also talked about how those agents, they catch a lot of heat. They take a lot of bullshit. And so she just did not want to go through that hassle. And then not for nothing, but she also had tried to pitch some really cool ideas to WWE as far as content goes. So basically, the show that she's doing now with Chrissy Hemme, Gil Kim and them, you know, or SoCal Val, basically what she's doing now, she tried to pitch something like that to WWE. She also tried to pitch some type of a series where, you know, you're kind of like following WWE female superstars, you know, and they shot all of that down. And I thought that the concept that she basically gave was pretty good. I mean, you're essentially, I mean, when you really stop and think about it, I mean, fuck, Total Divas, Total Bellas, sure, why not? You know, you're in need for new original content anyway, especially now that you got this Peacock deal going on and all that. It's kind of one of those head scratching moments right there. So for those of you that was always kind of like, yeah, man, you know, she would have been badass as an agent and, you know, trainer and blah blah. Agreed. But according to her, you know, and I totally understand. I totally get that. So if you didn't check that out, go check that out. It's actually pretty good. I actually had enjoyed it. So check that out. And other than that, let's go ahead and stick a fork in it. Let's call this show DONE done. We've been running now for about, we started the show at about maybe, I think we started the show at about maybe 10:10. So 11:10. Yeah, so we've done about almost 2 hours and 30 minutes. So let's stick a fork in it. We'll call this DONE done. Your next edition at this point, it's going to be coming you all's way. Patreon members, I'm going to pump something out for you guys this Thursday. So be on the lookout for that. Thursday, Friday. Be on the lookout for that. And at this point, I won't be back on the air. According to the calendar here, I won't be back with you guys until Monday, May 3rd. That'll be your new RCWR show that'll drop live after WWE Raw goes off the air. Meantime, be kind, rewind, check out previous episodes you might have missed on demand and on the downloads, especially wherever you get your podcasts. Just search the RCWR Show. Get at your man on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use the keywords, the RCWR Show. To those of you that had tuned in live, thank you. Appreciate it as always. And as I make my exit, please, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe, click the bell, all that good jazz, so you don't miss out on all the new content. Those of you that will be checking this out on demand and on the downloads, thanks for the love and support as always. Till next go round, wishing all y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I will. I'm going to be reading my comics. I'm going to be lost in my homework. And I don't know. Follow me on Twitch. I'm just saying, hearing a lot of positive things about this latest Cyberpunk 2077 thingamajigger. I've had my Cyberpunk game in shrink wrap since Christmas. I've been waiting to play this game. I don't know. I might this weekend. I might, maybe a little bit sooner than anticipated. I actually might take this out of the shrink wrap. And I actually might play this game. I got to get with some and see what's going on. But yeah, FYI.